from...
No.
Yeah, please, let me finish. When you were talking, I was quiet. So let me finish. It seems the conference has shifted from, the aim of educating the media as to what you think about GMOs and plant breeders bill to personal attack of my person. I am Dr. Margaret Otatipo. I work with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. I'm the Deputy Director of the CSIR Food Research Institute. And I am the chairperson, the focal person of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research. I have had attacks from food sovereignty. And Mr. Opoku himself wrote to me he was going to take me to court because I have said that food sovereignty is liaising with outsiders who are funding them. The way you put it was not verbatim what I said, and I have been misquoted in the latter part of your statement. And I want to make it clear to everybody here that we are not fighting food sovereignty. We are not politicizing GMOs either. What we are doing and what always I have said is let us discuss. I've been on radio program with food sovereignty. The gentleman is there, Radio XYZ, and it was, a debate. It will be interesting for us to discuss issues instead of, pointing fingers at people or saying derogatory things about people. Dr. Shiva, I know, is a philosophist. I know that.
Also a physicist.
A physicist who had worked, trying to educate people on quantum physics, isn't it?
No, I educated myself.
On yourself? On
maybe
quantum?
Let me just talk to the press about my background.
Let me finish.
The press shouldn't get a distorted background from you who don't know me.
Right.
I don't know you.
Okay, let me finish my submission and then you can educate the press, because I want to talk about plant breeders bill and GMOs.
So you talk about it.
Yes. I want to talk about plant
This is a press conference.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
But not
Plant
yours. It is for
breeders
Food Sovereignty
bill.
Canada. This press conference is Food Sovereignty Canada,
Yeah.
not yours. You are here as a guest.
Yes, but
Not
my
as-
comment is coming because
Only
if you
if
don't
you're
want me to
invited.
participate,
Only
I
if
can
you're
leave.
invited by Food Sovereignty Corporation.
I was not invited. I came because I
You
wanted.
gate crashed.
You
You
not
gate
gate crash.
And you're
Okay,
talking
it's
so
okay.
much.
Let me leave.
What are you
Let me leave because
But since I don't know you, madam, since I don't know you, could you let me know who supports your research?
Hello, madam.
Who
Let me
finances
just
your
leave so that
research?
because if you don't want my comment,
No, you can tell the public who supports your research.
Please, Madam Atiku.
Madam, it will be an
If
interest
you
for you
can
to
post your questions.
no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. I don't go to conferences where it is, like an attack.
You have to save this country.
You have to
The
address the
country
issue.
is in danger.
Please don't talk.
No, I have to talk because
to me.
you are destroying this country.
I am not destroying this country. I am not.
You are one of
I am not. You know me.
I don't
Do you know me?
You
Do I know you? Is it not today that I see you?
You are destroying this country. You are not going to allow you to destroy this country.
You were supposed to ask your question.
These are the people who are destroying this country.
Please, ladies and gentlemen of the press, we want to focus straight on the press conference. I think, Madam Shiva has just finished her presentation. If you have any issues with the issues she has raised, please go and do that so that we can have some progress.
Can move forward.
This is question time. Anything about the Plant Breeders Bill, anything about GMOs, this is the time. And also from the discussions we had this morning.
Yeah, I think she wanted to explain something. So
No, it's okay. Let the media just go straight forward to
Please.
Pastor.
I thought daily for she has left. Don't worry. Now this is a forum. It's a press conference.
Yes.
The purpose is to allow the ladies and the gentlemen of the press, whatever doubt you have, whatever problem you have, whatever question you have about genetically modified organism and the crops that come out of it, Dr. Bandana Shiva is here. Please feel free and ask the questions. This is an aside. That's why I said you have
The first one here.
Yeah, Doc, to set the basis for further questions, I think you should give a brief profile of yourself for the cameras to capture.
Exactly.
So that the media will have that on record.
Yeah.
They can juxtapose it with all the propaganda that may come from it,
Okay.
so that the distinction is made.
Very briefly, since a 6-year-old child, I was passionate about physics because I was inspired by Einstein. And I went to convents which didn't offer physics, but I still studied physics. I trained in our nuclear establishment at the Bhabha Atomic Research Center. I did an MSc Honours in Physics in Particle Physics. I started a PhD in Particle Physics in India with the top particle physicist, Dr. Samar Biswas at the Delhi University. But as I went deeper into questions of quantification, of the quantum theory, I said, I want to understand what this means for the world. Does it mean for a paradigm shift? At that point, in the University of Western Ontario, in Canada, a colloquium in quantum physics had been organized, a 5-year program attracting the top scientists, physicists, mathematicians, philosophers into an interdisciplinary program. They were also attracting interdisciplinary students like me. Our program had only foreign students. There was one Canadian. I had to study philosophy because it was hosted in a philosophy department. I did a master's in philosophy, and I'm glad because philosophy forces you to ask questions. I did a PhD in the foundations of quantum theory. The topic of my PhD thesis is hidden variables and non-locality in quantum theory. Hidden variables to ask the question, is the uncertainty in quantum theory reducible to unknown particles called hidden variables? And we found no. On locality and non-locality, all of the mechanistic worldview of fragmentation is based on everything being divided. At the level of genes, the genes are separate. You can move them as a Lego from one plant to another, from a bacteria to another, from a pig to a wheat, from a human to a chicken or a pig. It was very clear that that mechanistic reductionist fragmented idea was wrong because the nature of reality, which now quantum theory and the new biology are showing us, is non-separability, interconnectedness. That's what I learned. But even if I hadn't gone to university, my real teachings have come from women who never went to school. The peasant women of India, the women of Chipko. You don't need a degree to have a mind. The best intelligence is indigenous intelligence. And intelligence is not just a human phenomenon. Every cell of every plant, every organism is intelligent. Otherwise, those pests that are being sprayed by pesticides, those pests that are facing the toxin of the BT cotton, they wouldn't be evolving resistance. The evolution of a resistance, the evolution of adaptation is a nature of expression. And I want to conclude my background with the fact that when the emperor was given no clothes by weavers who pretended that these were the most magnificent clothes, and all the courtiers were told it's only the intelligent who will see it, and no one wanted to prove themselves stupid. It was the little child, the child, who said, but the emperor has no clothes. That's the title of our global study on the failure of GMOs. The GMO emperor has no clothes. This is a study done by scientists around the world in their own countries, not by Mark Linus placed on Cornell, not by lobbyists who's cooked up data that I've never studied physics. They keep writing out my physics degrees on Wikipedia page. And that means Monsanto has to full-time employ people to tell lies, whereas we employ our minds and our love and our hearts full-time to speak love. The 4 claims of genetic engineering are, it'll increase yields. The technology cannot, because a toxic gene is shot into the cell of a plant. The yield comes from the original material, from original breeding. It could be a hybrid, it could be a farmer's variety. Yield is not a function of genetic engineering, it's a product of conventional breeding. Second, it's a substitute to chemicals. You'll be told that about BT cotton. As I said, it has increased pesticide use, and if any of you need more data, it's all there, how much in every country the chemical herbicide load has increased. Argentina, Brazil, United States, wherever GMOs have entered, there's more pesticide use. There are 2 applications of GMOs. BT, where the toxin is put into the plant to express its own pesticide. The other is herbicide tolerant, where a toxic is into the plant so that the plant can resist the company's herbicide. In the case of Monsanto, it is Roundup resistant crops. Are these solving the problem? Only 2 applications. They were supposed to control pests in one case and weeds on the other. The BT crops have created super pests. I mentioned India, but even in the United States, super pests like that, corn borer, eating up the corn. And weeds have taken over the farmlands. Super weeds in cornfields. So resilient to Roundup that they are now moving to Agent Orange 2,4-D.
Fire.
What was sprayed in Vietnam
Fire.
during the war. So food has been turned into a war. And as I said, it's a technology that's not producing food, so it's not a solution to hunger. It's not reducing chemical use, it's increasing it. Therefore, it will aggravate the environmental problem, but it will aggravate the health problem. In Sri Lanka, a scientist studied what were the roots of 400,000 people getting kidney failure in the last 20 years. Never before. 20,000 have died. He linked to glyphosate, which is the scientific name for Roundup. Glyphosate is being implicated in more and more new and chronic diseases that are being experienced by people. Autism in the United States has increased 35% in the last 2 years. And the Center for Disease Control says it is something in the environment, because this jump cannot be explained by genetic causes. Cancer rates. I've just done a foreword to a book on diseases due to GMOs and pesticides. Because GMOs, if it comes to ownership, you can tell yourself GMO means God move over. I have created the plants and the seeds and I will own these seeds. And the other side of it is all this complicated language of genetic engineering can be reduced to a simple description. Poison producing plants. All that the technology has achieved is how to put poisons and toxins into the plant. Not very smart. Every step of human activity can be guided by objectives of killing and destroying, or flourishing and bringing to life. Sadly, yes, I admit genetic engineering is a sophisticated technology, but it's a sophisticated technology for killing. It is not a sophisticated technology for producing food. The sophisticated technology for producing food comes from agroecology, which is based on indigenous knowledge. And I feel particularly happy that in spite of all the money, 100 years of payments by the poison industry, 20 years of poisoning the minds of our politicians and our bureaucrats, in spite of all of that, in the world what is growing as the agriculture of the future that will ensure sustainability and protection of our resources, that it will ensure health and nutrition for all, and that will ensure affordable food for all, is food sovereignty and agroecology and biodiversity. Look at America, because that's the food model they are trying to build. What does America have? It's finished off its farmers. There are more people in jail than on the land, because they've turned their jails into privatized systems, where the jail owners will pick up any black person on absolutely fraudulent charges, just so they can increase the collections they make from the government for running these private jails. Do we want the third world to have everyone in jail and no one on the land? It's a wrong model. Health-wise, every third person in America is obese. The diabetes epidemic is so severe that the other day I was with Bill Clinton, and he was saying our health system cannot bear this. In health terms, every graph of disease is going up like that. In terms of what can you eat, there you can't eat anything. It is so bad, the food. And they have food deserts. In the areas where black communities live, they have food deserts because they've created a system based on profit. And if you don't have purchasing power, you have no food. Food sovereignty is based on the recognition, as there's beings of the earth, all of us have a right to eat. Every species has a right to food. And every society has an obligation to create a sovereign food system. So no child, no person can go hungry. That is our challenge. Monsanto has created starvation and suicides. It's our democratic movements that will ensure people have healthy and safe food.
Maybe first, second, and then the third in the corner. First here, second.